You're listening to the best Phillies sports show in the Northeast on Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another Philly sports show. And I'm here with my main man, El Parcero, Philly.
Let's go.
And I'm back home now after spending a few days in Cleveland. I hope you guys didn't miss me too much. Like I said, I didn't get to put out as many videos or nothing because I was a little busy. But we'll see. I heard that you guys may have seen a little bit of me, probably more than you would have just on TikTok or on YouTube or on Facebook or what have you. So
they showed you more than Trevor Lawrence, man.
I'm better looking.
You have the real long locks, man.
So it was I might as well just jump right out because I'm sure a lot of people want to hear some of the stories. It was an absolute blast. We had such a good time hanging out and I'm friends with a lot of this other super fans that were in there, so it was kind of cool just to be able to see them and chill with them a little bit. And then on Thursday, obviously, I wasn't in there right away. And all my super fan friends are like in there, and I knew Thursday's really tough to try to get in there specifically because they're not going to. They're specifically those seats are specifically for people that were chosen by the team. And on Thursday night, everybody wants to hear about the first round draft pick.
Right.
So you're not going to really be able to get up on stage and whatever. Once they made the pick, though, the fans left.
Mm-hmm.
So it allowed me to get in there. So I show up somewhere around pick 16 or 17, and everybody's like, they love it when I show up. You know what I mean? Like I know that I have some haters on here, and you guys don't know. You guys want to talk about how I'm not the guy or whatever. But I tell you, when it comes to the other fan bases, they love me because I bring an energy that not many people can replicate. And I get in there and I'm just like high-fiving people and getting hugs from people and everything. It's a whole big thing. It becomes my show is what I feel like. I feel like that I own that room. And and literally it's like I had a great time. Friday was a little different. I wasn't going to be there for the first pick, but an accident happened. I'm sorry, Marianne, if you're watching, and I'm going to tell the story. Marianne, who is the Eagles fan of the year, and she's like in her 50s, and she slipped and fell, or she tripped and fell, and out of precautions, they brought her to the hospital. The NFL, because they didn't want to take any chances of anything. And so ultimately I get in there right before they make the pick, and I'm like, yeah, and I do my thing, and of course everybody sees me. And then they tell me afterwards why I happen to be there, like because I happen to be there because she fell. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, I mean, now I'm more concerned about her than the Eagles pick. It wasn't that big of a deal. And she was fine. I mean, she was okay. She had a broken nose, unfortunately, but she was back out there. She's a trooper, man. She's back out there day 3, the entire draft. She's one of those women. She stays to the very end. She's what the epitome of a Philly sports fan is. She don't like we're getting crushed. It don't matter. She stays to the last second. You know what I mean? She needs to see every second of every game all the time.
I love her.
And she was exactly the same thing, did the exactly same thing at the draft. So the fact that they weren't going to let her come back in because once you leave, you can't come back. And she was actually upset about it. She's like, I don't want to be in the hospital. I would rather go watch them do the picks. I'm fine. But obviously they had to do their tests and stuff. And then Saturday was just a lot of fun. I initially ESPN gave me a selfie stick, and I'm going around to all the fans, just go like, literally I went to every fan base and did a little thing. And kind of saw that, and it was just me having a good time at this point, like getting a super fan and just like like kind of just doing our thing at the camera, and I did that for about an hour, and then I'm like, all right, that's time for me to give this up. I don't want to carry this around all day. And it was just like I said, it was just so awesome to kind of watch all of that and see all of that happen and such, and that's what makes this like all worthwhile. You know what I mean? Like just doing all that type of stuff, and like I said, all the text messages and the TikToks that everybody, like, they would record me being up there and sending it, or the Facebooks. I really do appreciate, because I don't get to see any of that. Like, obviously I know when the camera's in front of me, and then that makes it simple. But there are a lot of other times that they are showing me from a different angle that I don't see. And like my friend Mary, she's here on YouTube with us right now. She's a Broncos fan, and they did the Broncos pick, and then they show me. She's like, how is it that an Eagle, how that you show up rather than a Broncos fan?
Well, was it because we then traded up to 10?
No, so that was on Saturday, I think, when
Gotcha.
So, but wasn't that awesome? Because I tell you, I think I put the video out there. I may have done a quick live, or I put a video out there about the Dallas Cowboys fan who was close to me. And I was like, how do you feel about that pick? He goes, I'm going home. You know what I mean? He was crying that he didn't get, Patrick Surtain. And then the Eagles trade up. I tell you, to watch two NFC East teams cry.
Isn't that
cry in less than 5 minutes. It was like bam, bam, boom. It was awesome. Awesome.
And the Philly sports guy, to that point, what did we hear all like the last couple, ever since Howie traded back from 6 to 12? What did we kept hearing? We were the last place team, so you trade back, and now Dallas and the Giants are picking in front of you. Well, we kind of screwed it. Well, we didn't really screw over the Dallas Cowboys. The Panthers and the Broncos kind of screwed them over, but they still got screwed over. We screwed over the Giants. That was a great first night.
It was awesome. I love watching Cowboys cry. Just love watching them cry. And for all you Cowboys fans that are out there, I loved it. Oh, it was so awesome to watch that. It was amazing. And then, like I said, at that point, after that, like I could care less who was getting drafted. You know what I mean? I knew that,
right.
And the Giants actually did really well. From what I saw, the Giants actually, the trade that they made to get, that first round pick next season from Chicago, that was a big deal, actually.
Yeah. No, I like the trade they got. I wasn't a fan of the receiver they selected, but anytime you can get a first round, I think they got a fourth in last weekend's draft, and I think they get a fifth next year. I have to double check on that, but still pretty good, solid trade that they got.
Yeah, they did make a number, like it was like a first, and they traded fourth round picks as well.
I believe so.
It was like they moved first and fourth, and then they switched out to the first round, and I think a fifth round. So you might be right on that.
People like the Bears draft too. They feel like Fields can be that franchise QB for them. But the draft, man, it's really a crapshoot. You really just gotta wait and see. That's why some of these grades, like I said it today on Oi and Philly Sports. I said, like, look, I'm not a draft expert. I don't even like watching college football, to be honest with you guys. But I do read. I do listen to the experts. I make an educated opinion on what I've seen from the NFL draft, what the Eagles have done. But again, none of us are full experts here. So we just have to wait and see how these players play in the next level. We'll see how the development has been an issue, Philly Sports Guy, with our birds the past couple seasons. So we'll see how Sirianni's staff can turn some of these players into some studs.
Right. Well, hopefully that'll work that way, because like you said, I like the draft just because they followed my playbook. Offensive and defensive lines. That's when you do your stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. Before we dive into the full of this draft, I just on behalf of just even the Philly sports TikTok community, guys, what the Philly sports guy did this past weekend was special. It's funny because after Saturday, the Philly sports guy called me, and I just really wanted to let him know how important what he did was to all of us. The thing is, you guys don't realize is the Philly sports guy goes from last Saturday. My man is out in Subaru Park cheering loud as hell as the Philly sports guy that he is for the Philadelphia Union. And then a week later, my man is in Cleveland representing the whole entire city of Philadelphia. We guys, I know a lot of people like to hate out there, and I know why you guys hate on people like myself and the Philly sports guy. But really, what he is doing is really remarkable. He's representing this fan base perfectly. We get such a bad rap here in Philly. We're disgruntled, we're rude, we're brash, this and that. We're violent. But then there's the Philly sports guy. My man doesn't curse. My man, he spreads the love. He's the most passionate fan we have in this fan base. All 5 of those fan bases. So on behalf of Philly Sports TikTok, Philly Sports Guy, thank you. Seriously, thank you, Matt.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's really awesome for you to say. Like I said, sometimes it's like you think about it, and I definitely do get some hate, and it's usually the haters that are talking louder than the supporters.
Benefits us, man.
But as I like to say sometimes, no one likes us, we don't care. But that's actually not the case. That really isn't the case at all. People warm to me in a way that they don't typically do. I mean, and there's been like even when somebody's upset with me, like there was when I was outside in the crowd. When I have that mask on, it gets loud. It's like it reverberates and it actually echoes in the mask, and it can get very loud on top of somebody. And somebody was like, "I can't hear the pick, man. Can you just not do that right now?" And she kind of thought that maybe she was like being rude to me or something, and that I was actually being, like we were making it combative. And it wasn't like that at all. I kind of just was like, I listened to what she said and I walked somewhere else. So it wasn't like I was trying to be any combative. She then saw me the next day and she goes, "Yeah, like I just needed to tell you that. I'm like, I'm sorry if you thought that I was like being a bitch and stuff like that." And I was like, I'm like, "No, I didn't think you have your stuff. Like you're trying to watch this too. I am considerate to those types of things. It's like I know that I'm loud. I know that these things happen. And I know that when you catch me in the moment, I may immediately spew a rebuttal rather than, hey, listen, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And sometimes it'll come out that way. And then she loved me. Then she wanted to take pictures and stuff like that. And that's what happens. You have to be very aware of what's going on so that you're able to do the things. I love being a Philly guy, and trust me, I love busting their balls, and I do bust balls. But I do it out of love because we're all getting paid the same amount for to be a fan of each team. You know what I mean? We don't get paid any more than any of the other ones.
To that point as well, I think everyone knows by now I'm a little outspoken. This goes out to all the major sports franchises in America. If you have someone in your backyard who has some sort of social media following, stop following the status quo of going to find the quote-unquote influencer that has millions and millions of followers and start looking for the people that connect to your fan bases. I'm calling out the Eagles. I'm sorry. I have to call out the Eagles, and this has nothing to do with the Philly sports guy. This is me being disgruntled. The Philly sports guy goes everywhere and represents the Philadelphia Eagles. Why aren't you calling to work with him more often? I get it. The NFL, maybe they don't care about their fan bases as much as the other leagues do because they are the NFL and they are the Giant. But for Christ's sakes, and I'm sorry, but work with people that understand your fan base. Mike, why do we always try to complicate things? Like it is, I don't understand why it is hard to literally send a message, email to the hey, Philly sports guy, listen, we would love to, if they can't pay for your hotel, just communicate. You can work something out. Like even if they were, all it is was just allowing you to be there to represent the Eagles. I gotta call my birds. I'm sorry, I have to call my birds. That's all.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciate that because I won't do that type of stuff. I maybe say it on
I won't
occasion
either, but for you, I
privately.
will.
Maybe on occasion privately, but I typically won't call them out on stuff like that. Because I tell you, it's I won't get into the story, but it was tough to do what I did to get where I was.
No, I know.
It wasn't simple, and I you know I find a way. I find a way. Because ultimately it's hard being the most handsome dressed. But that's really what it comes down to. That's what
Right.
it comes down to. It's like they're too busy looking at me and not looking at, well, do I have my ticket on my phone? Is it my? And that's sometimes the glitz and glamour outweighs everything else. Everybody wants to take a picture with me, and I am more than happy to take the
Right.
pictures.
Oh
It's like
yeah. Oh yeah.
this. I'm not conceited about what it is that I do. I the camera finds me because I'm good at it, not the other, not because I'm going to try to find the camera.
Right.
It's sometimes and there's a lot of people that try to do that, and I'm just not that guy because not only do I want the camera on me, but I want the camera on the guy next to me too. I want to make sure that everybody gets some limelight because it's not about me. It's about the team and enjoying the time that you're there. That's why you'll see me with the Detroit fan, or you'll see me with True Blue from Dallas. You'll see me with the Seahawks fans. You'll see me with Jets fans. I've got pictures with every fan base. Like any super fan that was there, I've got a picture with them.
Right.
And I was going to save this for a little bit later. For all the people that are out there on TikTok, I'm going to kind of talk to you very specifically here. Miss Southard was that actually a fan, is a Detroit Lions fan, and she's been raising money for Shriners Hospital, and she's trying to raise $1 million. And she was there, and she put out a TikTok. I want you to look her up, Miss Southard, Sutherd, and go look at. If you're on TikTok, if you're a TikTok fan, go up there, find Miss Southard. She is a 4th grade teacher, and she went throughout the entire draft and got like every fan base to say hi to Miss Southard's class. Got the police, got the commissioner, got Machine Gun Kelly. She got all of these people to say.
That's funny.
And the one thing I noticed was that she didn't ask me. I was a little bummed about that. I'm like, how is that everybody got asked except me? So I told her, I said I would definitely, I'm waiting for Machine Gun Kelly had a lot more to say, and she only just said, hi, Mrs. Southard's class, and she's going to put out that video for him, of everything he said. And I said that I'm going to wait now until that video comes out, and then the Philly sports guy is going to do his own hi to Miss Southard's class.
There you go. That's awesome.
So that's kind of what I want to do. I like I said, I said I was going to try to raise some money for charity. She's been doing it. She raised $50,000 already. So definitely, if you're on TikTok, follow her. Go find her. Go see that video. It's an amazing video. And like I said, she was there for 3 days, putting out, and doing content still, and making sure that her class was still. That everybody in her class knew what was going on and kept up with their studies and stuff like that, even though they're in 4th grade. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a lot harder because I'm not a teacher. I don't know. But so it really, like I said, it was just an amazing 3 days. A whirlwind. I was out there since Tuesday.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a long week.
So, but now that, and like I said, I probably could I'll throw out 3 or 4 more stories, like how I cornered, because he didn't want to take a picture with me. I'm about to say Des Bryant, but it wasn't Des Bryant. It was Michael Irvin.
Oh,
He don't want to take a picture with Eagles fans, and I'm like, I got him cornered. I'm like, I got you. He's trying to get away. I'm like, nope. I got you. And then he came over and he shook my hand afterwards. He's like, yeah. He's like, you got me. You got me. And then that was that. So
that's awesome.
but yeah, it was just a great time all the way around. And you know what? It's like amongst everything else, Philly was represented very, very well at that draft. That's what I like, because when it's quiet, you hear an Eagles chant. I know when people were texting me that before they did the first pick, that you could hear me over the ESPN broadcast because I'm the loudest fan in the NFL. That's the way that works.
That's funny.
So, but let's talk about the picks. There was some picks that actually happened.
That's right.
Starting with the very first one. Oh, and it was so awesome to watch. Did everybody see that video? I wish I wanted to even download it and actually put it out there, but I couldn't find it. That when what's it, Capizzle? I think his name is Capizzle. I want to say his name properly. He's a Giants super fan, and he does a podcast.
Okay.
And he was miserable. He's like, yeah, I think we're going to get Devonta Smith. And then he's like, what? What do you mean the Cowboys are traded to the Eagles? Oh, man, why are they always screwing with us? He was like crying. He was so bitter.
Yeah,
I loved it.
so
I loved it. It was amazing. It was awesome.
We still own New York, man. It is so funny.
It was just so I love watching the Cowboys cry, and which had nothing to do. Like I sent a fruit basket to Denver, to make sure that they all know how appreciative I was. It's like, thank you very much there, Denver, for doing that, and then of course the enemy of our enemy is our friend. And that's how often do you see Dallas trade with the Eagles?
Yeah.
And it was worth it. I mean, it cost us a 3rd round pick to do so. But it was like a beautiful steak in my mouth.
Yeah. You know what's crazy though, Philly sports guy? The Giants reports from Dallas are the Giants didn't even call at all. Like, think about it. You could have had Devontae Smith if you would have just given up a 4th round pick. But Howie stepped in front and he called. I just find it crazy the Giants didn't even call at all to even see.
Well, you just don't expect it. You don't expect that the Eagles are going to call Dallas and send over a 3rd round pick. Like, hey, why don't we switch spots? What do you think the Giants are going to do when we take their guy? Nothing. They're going to cry. They're going to cry is what they're going to do.
Right.
Let's get together and cry. Let's have them cry together. I mean,
I will say, as much as we criticize Howie, the one thing we do know, he is a great negotiator. And it just seemed like Howie knew what Dave Gettleman and the Giants were trying to do in this whole draft. Because even the 2nd round, we screwed him over there as well. So, kudos to Howie for that. I was a fan of the Devontae Smith pick. What we have to all remember, we all wanted J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain. I think we all would have been happy with one of those players here in Philadelphia. But those guys won 8 and 9. And once that happened, Jalen Waddle already was off the board. Howie, his next best available was Devontae Smith, and he didn't want to lose out. I think that after Devontae Smith for the Birds, the drop-off was significant, and they didn't want to lose out on Devontae Smith. So Howie got his guy. He gave up a 3rd rounder, which Howie made it evident that he really is not valuing this draft as highly as next year's draft, simply because of the draft process is a little skewed because of COVID that we just had. So I'm not mad at Devontae. I know a lot of people wanted to ask and wanted to comment about what Kata thought. That is what Kata thought. I personally was not mad at Devontae Smith selection there.
I found it odd that Kata Hart was angry about it at all. So, I mean, I didn't necessarily want. I wanted to go defense,
right?
So
right.
I was, but I mean, I also like screwing over teams in our division.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing for me. I'm beginning to enjoy. I mean, I've watched the Giants cry for a long time. I love watching the Giants cry. I love watching the Cowboys cry. So there was a lot of crying going on around us. So to get all that, and ultimately, when you think about it, they traded. I mean, that pick was given to us. You know what I mean? So it wasn't even ours to begin with. So
Yeah.
I think that it was meant to be that way. I guess it was just meant to be.
Yeah, man.
Now let's hopefully now the big deal on this is that let's hope that he actually is what they say he is. You know,
Yeah.
obviously he got a lot of hardware. The hard part about this is that the media and everybody, like all the fan base, is really excited for this pick because it was kind of who we wanted. We were saying, yeah, let's grab him, let's grab him, let's grab him. So now we grabbed him. So we can't turn back around next year after he for some reason gets hurt because he's 170 pounds. It's like eventually he's going to get hit. This is the NFL. And, if he gets hurt and stuff like that and he doesn't play for the season, we can't blame Howie after the fact because I feel like that he did this a little bit to try to pacify the fans a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they definitely wanted him. He was on the board for them, and they weren't going to take a linebacker. There was no way that they were going to take Micah Parsons.
Yeah, we'll get to that as well. But no, that's what I was going to say. What other player did people value at pick 12? Once those two cornerbacks were gone, Jalen Waddle was gone as well. We listen, as much as some of us value Micah Parsons very highly, we all know how he's not drafting a linebacker, especially a linebacker with character questions at pick number 12 in the first round. I told you guys I would have been happy with Rashawn Slater. Some people were iffy about him. Like there's some people who loved Rashawn Slater, some people who felt like, yeah, that's a little bit of a project. I think that as we saw later on in the draft, there was a guard that they valued more, which we'll get to in a second. But no, Devontae Smith, the only real concern is the size. He weighed in about a month ago at 166. So that is definitely a concern. But look, the kid played really well in college. I do think when you hear him talk, he's got the mindset to play in the NFL. He's very professional already, and you kind of expect that from a Nick Saban kid from Alabama. They already know it's like an NFL program down there. Like they already know what they're walking into. He holds himself very highly. I love the way he carries himself. He's going to come in, work his ass off. He's a leader. Oh my God, he already has a workout regimen like Jerry Rice. He loves to do the hills like Jerry Rice used to do back in his day. He's a 6'1" receiver with 9.5-inch hands. That's comparable to an NBA player. He's got a 6'5" wingspan, almost 6'6". That's why he's great at attacking the ball at its highest point. A lot of things that you definitely do like from this kid. And think about it, the Philly Sports Guy. I talked about it. How many elite wide receivers have the Eagles drafted in its history? I can only name two. Tommy McDonald and Harold Carmichael, and those were completely different eras of football. We've had good receivers get drafted here, but it would be nice to draft the receiver and just be an absolute stud, a top 5 receiver. Not saying
I'd have to add Mike Quick to that mix as well.
In his time, you'd say he's an elite receiver? I said he was a really good receiver. I didn't think he was elite.
Mike Quick would have been in the Hall of Fame if he didn't get hurt.
All right. Well, so either way, it's just not enough. It's not enough elite receivers, and historically.
I beat you to it, Eddie. I beat you to it.
So historically, this has not been a franchise that consistently drafts elite receivers like some other franchise. So we'll see. I really have some problems with Devontae Smith.
So I hope that he is Steve Smith. That's what I hope. That's what I would love to hear the comparisons later on down in the line that he is good or better than Steve Smith. That's where I want to see, because short and fast and can catch the ball and can get open all the time. If he could do all those things, that's great. And it's so much better than what we have. But we'll see. We'll see. You know what I mean? Obviously, that was pick number 1. And, thank you again, Denver, for making sure that was even possible, plausible to even happen, because ultimately, I knew Dallas wasn't going to take a receiver. There was no need for them to take a receiver, and they could have screwed both of the Giants and the Eagles by doing so. So the fact that they didn't, and they actually they made out in the process. So it worked out well for them. Second round, Landon Dickerson, center from Alabama. Now, I just want to make note because they did mention this a couple times. The Eagles had not drafted anybody from Alabama since 1954.
I think it was 2002. They drafted a guy by the name, I'm forgetting his name, something Mullins. Listen, it's been a topic leading up to this draft. The fact that just SEC players in general, Howie just seems to be allergic to. But yeah, no, the Alabama thing was weird, especially you're talking about Nick Saban has created a powerhouse. More than 10 times out of 10, you're going to more likely find a serviceable player from Alabama, and Howie just never steered away with it. And then the first 2 rounds, we get 2 Alabama players.
Right. And literally it was, first off, how is Alabama going to even field a team next year?
Philly sports guy, that's the madness of Nick Saban. The dude already has another class waiting to perform right now. Think about it. Through 2 years ago, Alabama had Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. That's crazy. That's 4 out of 4 wide receivers that won in the top 20 in both drafts. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, I would say that is very impressive. And, I guess we'll see if they can if they can have a team next year, because ultimately, I feel like the whole squad was drafted. It was like they would literally they had to have had 20 people on that team drafted.
Both tackles, their center got drafted. We just said their 2 wide receivers, their running back, their quarterback got drafted. The 2 receivers, the quarterback, and the running back, all drafted in the first round.
Yep,
that's crazy.
So, ultimately, that's good. Obviously, the center got drafted in the second round by the Eagles, and he's going to come in as a guard to start, and probably he's going to be the heir apparent to Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. So one of the critiques that myself and a lot of Eagles fans was I wanted day 2 to just be defense. I wanted to find 2 impact defensive playmakers. Second round, however, we went with a position where I just can't get mad at the Eagles drafting linemen. Like you said earlier, you build in team reconstructions. You start from your line. You get a good, strong offensive line. You get a good, strong defensive line. More than likely, you're going to have a strong team going forward. Landon Dickerson, the concern is obviously the injuries. His all 4 college career or college seasons ended in season-ending injuries. That is definitely a concern. However, the upside with Landon Dickerson, Nick Saban came out and after the national championship and said that Landon Dickerson is one of the best leaders he has ever coached in his time at Alabama. That's very high praise for a lineman like Landon Dickerson. So to me, this pick, Philly sports guy, 2 things. 1, this has Jeff Stoutland written all over it. My guess is Jeff was very vocal on that draft board. You need to get Landon. You get Landon. He's going to be the anchor of this offensive line for the next 10 years, and he got his boy. I agree. I think he's going to come in here. We all know Nick Sirianni said there's going to be a competition all throughout the field. Would love to see him compete with Isaac Seumalo, and if Seumalo wins, that means that Landon Dickerson pushed him to the edge, and Seumalo might be back to the Super Bowl season. Seumalo, we'll see. We talked about it last season. I'm sick and tired of Seumalo. I'm overseeing that guy. I think we can upgrade at that position, and if it is Landon Dickerson for now, that is awesome. And then when Kelsey's done, you just slide him over, and he's big for a center. I think he's like 6'2", 325. It's big for a center. You're seeing a lot of smaller centers these days because they have to just do so much. A lot of movement going on by those guys. But now This guy's agile. He can move. Hopefully, just the college injuries was just him, just growing as a young adult. And hopefully he plays 10 years with not a lot of injuries.
Hey, I hope so too, because it's definitely one of those things that are, like I said, we know that Kelsey's ready to become daddy. You know what I mean? He's ready to. He's been talking about stepping away for a couple of years now, and I know that he said he's got one more season in him. Hopefully, I'd like to see him go for a few more years, but I understand that may not be the case.
Right.
And let's hope that that he will actually, like I said, take over and step in for Kelsey. And because it's, when you're the best center in football, there's him and then there's everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's been for the last 5-6 years. He's been the best center in football.
Yeah.
And you can't replace that easily. So
Yeah.
that's, as you could tell. So like when Jason Peters was the man, he was the man. And then when he got hurt, he wasn't the man anymore. And that's, you can't replace that. You can't hope. It just doesn't work that way. So
Right.
I mean, we'll see. It's like I said, I know that he's coming off the injury. It's going to be a fairly big deal for him to get back, in the swing of things. But everybody's saying that he's going to be in great shape. So we will see about that. With the third pick, they went with a Louisiana Tech, Milton Williams, a defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love it when we do those types of picks because that's how championships are won. That's
You win in the trenches. That's right.
And that's every time I hear that we're going defensive line or offensive line, I'm excited about it.
Right.
And I feel like that they went right off of my playbook here. Like literally they, and I'm not a fantasy football guy, so don't go by anything that I do in fantasy football. But realistically, when you are in the NFL, like you pick offensive and defensive line. Now, of course, them taking a wide receiver in the first round is questionable for me. That's kind of what I do there. But. And real quickly, are you able to see me fine?
On StreamYard?
Yeah. Is everybody seeing me okay? My screen went blank. So I'm talking now to a blank screen. That's why I keep looking down at my phone because I had to, pull up the draft picks again because I was looking at
you look clear. Crystal clear.
All right, perfect. I can't see anybody's messages or anything like that. So you guys could be saying awesome stuff. I can't even see it. So, literally I got a blank screen in front of me. I don't know what happened. And I don't want to press a button to try to fix it. So, like I said, going back to it, when they pick a defensive lineman, I'm like excited about it. Offensive, defensive lineman. And then they went cornerback after that. You know what I mean? Because I heard, and I heard somebody talking and it was, they were like talking down to the crowd, but they were up from NFL Network and they were saying, you don't need to take the cornerbacks in the first or second round. Said there's so many really good cornerbacks in here that you're going to be able to find a lot of diamonds in the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds. Because they were undervalued because of the fact the way the season went. There's going to be a lot of good choices out there that nobody's heard of because of the way the season went this year.
Right. God.
So I like the fact that they took Zach McPherson from Texas Tech with the 4th pick. And then, like I said, then they took the running back in the 5th round. Then they went back to defensive ends and safeties and linebackers. Like they did mostly defense here. They have an offense. They have a lot of offensive weapons. We haven't got to see them yet. The fastest guy on the field last year, I kept screaming for him to get out there, and they didn't put him out there.
It's going to be tough for him to get on the field now.
No, it's not. I bet you he becomes the number 2.
Listen, I hope you're right.
Number 2 or number 3 even. Like if they put him in the slot because he's a little bigger.
You think he beats out Rager?
Well, I think Rager becomes the number 2 or number 3. I mean, I don't think Ward stays out there.
No. I don't think that either.
I think Fulgham is going to be the hard one to make the decision about.
Yeah, that's really my only. Yeah, him and I personally think Rager is a slot receiver in the NFL, which is funny because that was the one thing I said we shouldn't draft Justin Jefferson because I thought he was only a slot receiver, and that's why we should have drafted Rager, and Rager might well be a slot receiver in the NFL. So I think that next year, if Fulgham does develop well under Sirianni, I think that he will be the second receiver. Quez is definitely in the picture, but I definitely think projecting now, I think it'll be Devontae with Travis on the other side. Rager is going to be your slot receiver, and I mean Zach Ertz stayed in Philly over the weekend, so I expect him to play this year as well. If he plays well, I think you can see him. I could very well see him being gone by deadline time. But to start the season, I could see Ertz starting day one, and that's a solid weapons for Jalen Hurts in year two.
So that was I was going to bring that up just now because I'm like, the one name that I didn't hear all weekend long was Zach Ertz.
Zachy Ertz, man,
Still
here.
I wonder if it's going to be okay. Because you hear about a lot of disgruntled players lately. Like it's been like the talk of of everybody.
The entitlement.
Right. Well, is it entitlement? Like you got Rodgers saying he don't want to play there anymore.
Yeah.
And okay, and you got Zach Ertz who started this talk at the end of last season, and the Colts didn't bite. It's really the Colts that you were going to maybe say, okay, where they were going to come after him.
Yeah.
Fourth round pick. For a fourth round pick, it would have been.
I think what teams were doing, they were waiting for the Eagles to blink. I think a lot of teams expected the Eagles to just feel like they had no other choice but to release him. And I think that's what they were waiting for. But, I'll give Howie kudos because if you don't need to get rid of Zach Ertz, why do you need to get rid of him? I felt like last season he was upset because he felt like his play deserved the contract extension. And it's evident he wants to spend the rest of his career in Philadelphia. That's why he was that upset. He handled it the wrong way. Like you just don't cause a scene in training camp with your GM. But I appreciate that he loves Philly, and we love him for that. We all remember the Super Bowl winning catch. Like his legacy will forever be remembered here in Philadelphia. But we'll see how the season plays out. I'm not going to be mad if he stays here.
No, I'm not going to be mad either. But are we going to have somebody who's not going to play well because he didn't want to be here?
I'll tell you what, for his career, he better play well. Not for us. Don't worry about us. Don't worry about the organization. Don't worry about the fans. For his own career, it would be very conducive for him to come out and ball out if he wants to get paid and get out of here.
Right. I mean, because he's got only 1 year left. So
Yeah,
either
exactly.
way, he's going to have to play out this season.
Exactly. To get back to that third pick, though, with Milton Williams here, you know me, Philly sports guy. I love Fletcher Cox. He's like, for me personally, top 10 favorite Eagles player. I growing up with him, amazing. Milton Williams is very interesting. He's 284. I think he's like 6'4" or something like that. So he's very nimble and he is strong. We're talking benching 500 pounds. Okay. Like that is pretty wild. So, when you're talking about the NFL, like the athleticism every single year seems to be going up, possibly seeing, a 284 defensive tackle playing here, learning under Cox and Hargrave. It's going to be really exciting. The issue with this pick everyone wants to talk about was, I'm sure you saw it. I don't know if you did see it actually, because you were obviously doing your thing down there, Philly sports guy. But ESPN showed a clip of the Eagles draft room after the Milton Williams draft pick. The camera showed Tom Donahoe as Howie was walking up. Tom looked evident that he was upset with the pick. He looked very evident.
Yes. That was the video that I wanted to bring up and I mentioned.
If you remember, we traded back from pick 70 to 73. He was upset. From what I'm hearing, he felt at pick 70 there was a player that he felt was more highly touted. Now, if you look at pick 70, pick 70 was obviously Brandon Christensen, so obviously they traded back. They didn't really care there for that player. I think what Tom Donahoe wanted was Aaron Robinson at pick 71 to the Giants, the cornerback out of UCF, because pick 72 was a defensive tackle, and that obviously we already drafted Milton Williams. So my prediction was Tom Donahoe wanted Aaron Robinson, and Howie was like Milton Williamson is more of the higher impact player. Look, Tom Donahoe, it's very telling, and a lot of the rumors that we heard pre-draft of Howie not listening to the scouts, that kind of, it kind of gave light to that situation. Tom, though, is a long-time NFL scout, executive, whatever. He should not have handled it that way. If you did not feel that way, you take Howie in the other room. You're like, Howie, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here? I told you to draft this player. You did this crap to me last season, but now everyone sees again that there are issues with the GM and the scouts of this team here. But listen, I'm not going to say again. I'm with you. We have the same mentality when it comes to team building. Linemen are super important, but it is concerning that it just seems like Howie's not on the same page with these scouts sometimes, who get paid a lot of money to do their job.
Right. And I'm not exactly sure, like if it's going to be any better, if it's not going to get, like it. First off, when I saw that video,
yes,
and I watched him give him, he still did give him the pound, which I thought was, like, if he didn't give him the pound, that would have been more telling. But he didn't give it. He did give him the pound, and then he's like, yeah, like I felt like he whined a little bit there, and then of course Howie. The problem with Howie is that he just don't look like a football guy.
no.
So when he did the what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He did like the that's what was the worst part of that. He's like he could have did the pound, and if he just was like, well, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, if he would have handled it, like I said, if he didn't look so much like a weasel, there.
You could say. He could say.
Yeah, he looked a little Weasley there. He's like, what? What are you talking about? And just like, had he looked a little different, like a little bit more professional about it, and been like, yo, I chose the guy. This is what I wanted. I think this is going to be a better pick for us. End of story.
We got the best value of the pick there with 73 and Milton Williams, so I don't know why you're upset, Tom.
Right, exactly. And ultimately, I think that Tom, I don't know. I can't speak for them. In any specific way. But if he's going to be that unhappy, if he was to leave the organization here within the next couple of weeks, then how that conversation, what happened between the two of them really transpired. That
Right.
At that point it was the end. It was the end of the relationship at that moment. That was the line that got crossed.
Yeah, man. Yeah. With Zach in the 4th round, look, I heard there's a lot of high praise for this kid who came out in the 4th round. My question is, like, how many stud defensive players come out of Texas Tech? How many stud defensive players come out of the Big 12? I don't watch a lot of college football. One thing I do know is defense is very lacking in the Big 12 country. Don't like to usually write off players because of where they play, but it is a little bit of a concern there. And we'll see, because Jonathan Gannon is really good at developing secondary players. But I do get concerned of drafting Big 12 players, defensive players. That's just me.
See, now, if you would have said Pac-12, then I would have been said no. Yeah, don't draft defense from the Pac-12. When you're talking about like TCU and Texas and Oklahoma and such like that, I'm not as concerned about that, because they're like just big boys. You know what I mean? They are some big boys over there. And that's kind of what you want.
But that conference has turned into such a offensive. You watch a Big 12 game and it's like 70-50, and it's like, where was the defense? Like, I get, like, that's why you're seeing so many good receivers and quarterbacks, running skilled players, I should say, coming out of the Big 12, because I feel like that's what everyone wants in the Big 12. They don't even care about defense. As long as we can throw the ball 100 times a game and put up 50 points on the scoreboard.
Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why exactly?
That's the league.
Because they do not care about the defensive line.
That too.
It's all the big boys are all on the offensive side of the ball, so they protect the quarterback really well. and then you have speedsters. So they do a lot of man coverage in the Big 12. So that's why you see these cornerbacks. They don't do much zone. You know what I mean? It's
Okay, you're on to something there. Now that you
so
say that,
and that. So you never have any pressure on the quarterback. That's why the scores are so high, because ultimately somebody's going to get open. So, but there's going to be guys that you don't throw to because they're being well covered, and that's
okay.
kind of how I look at it as.
So yeah, that makes sense because this defense, Jonathan wants guys who can play man. So that makes sense. So we'll see. We'll definitely see.
And I got to imagine that, like I said, he gets beat on occasion. Sometimes you're going up against a guy who's just much faster.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that they're going to regret losing with the Green Goblin. He had great closing speed.
Yeah.
That was the thing. He could get beat, but he had good closing speed to catch back up again. Now, a couple of years ago, he got beat on the double move a lot, and everybody saw that. That was what that was, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But he would close back up. He would close those gaps again. They would catch those balls on the double moves, but he would tackle them. You know what I mean? They wouldn't get many yards after the catch. And he learned about that. He stopped falling for the double move. And when he stopped falling for the double move, he didn't have much more to close, and he had great closing speed. He was able to catch back up and get in between him, the ball and the receiver. And I think they're going to miss that this year.
I agree, man. I agree wholeheartedly. What'd you think of the 5th round pick?
Give me a second. The running back from Memphis,
Kenneth Gainwell.
So to be honest, I'll be 100% honest. I know nothing about this guy.
That's all right. Yeah.
I hope that he's a little bigger. I don't want another small running back.
So what if I told you this, Philly sports guy? What if I told you our 5th round running back absolutely ran over the Dallas Cowboys 1st round draft pick?
Great. That's awesome.
So for me, when it comes to Gainwell, I think Sirianni believes in the running game, and I really think he believes in a running back by committee, because that's what the Colts were doing since Frank Reich got there, really. So for me, I think he's an upgrade from Boston Scott. I think Boston Scott is going to have to take his game up another level, because I genuinely think he can push Boston Scott for some of those snaps. Obviously, I think the top of our rotation is going to be Miles with Howard on those short yard situations, but then you want that change of pace guy, something Boston Scott's been the past couple seasons. Kenneth can very well compete Boston at that spot, so that's gonna be a fun competition come training camp time.
What's his size?
Kenneth is like that shifty type of back. I have to double check here. It doesn't say here. Let me double check. He can't be that big. Like I would say he's like a 5'11", 215, if that.
5'11", 215 is great.
Of course, it doesn't really say here either. He is 5'11", 191. 191.
Yeah. Small.
Yeah, he's like one of those shifty type of backs. He's got good speed. He rushed for 1,049 yards and 13 touchdowns while catching 51 passes and 610 yards. That was just in 2019. He didn't play last year. He opted out because obviously COVID, but that's some good numbers in 2019.
Got ya. All right. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Competition, the Philly sports guy. Competition.
Hey, I'm game for that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can imagine that there was a whole bunch of running backs that also were not chosen, that are undrafted free agents that are going to be able to be available.
Right.
There was not many running backs chosen in this draft across the board.
Yeah. The rest of the day 3 guys, who knows with some of these guys. Someone earlier was thought that I was a little low on Patrick Johnson. Listen. Who watched playing football over the last couple of seasons? I haven't watched playing football since J.P. Lossman was throwing passes out there. But the Philly Sports Guy, the one guy I feel like could be a steal, a sleeper for the Eagles. Really like this Jacoby Stevens guy from LSU. First off, we just talked about Big 12 and defenses. I get super giddy when I hear LSU and defense, okay? This guy can play linebacker or safety. So in an NFL where you need linebackers who can cover, he might be able to do it. He very well might be a better cover linebacker than Nate Gary. That could be a possibility here, but I just like the pedigree with him. He led LSU in tackles last season with 63. Obviously, that was a bad LSU team, but still really solid. He was a former wide receiver. That's also that's something really good to know as well. I really think he can be something with this team. I think Jonathan Gannon can find something to put him at. And worst comes to worst, year one, he helps you out on special teams. I really like this kid. I think he can help you out.
Well, I hope so. Again, I like defensive backs. Like I want to see competition. We're going to need a safety. You always seem to find the diamonds in the rough in the 6th round. You never really find them in the 7th round. You never really hear about them in the 5th round. You hear 4th and 6th. That's usually where these guys that come out of nowhere.
Tom Brady, best quarterback ever, probably 6th round. Pick 200, I think he was.
Pick 199, actually.
199.
He didn't quite make it to 200. I mean, he was also at the slowest combine. He had the slowest combine 40 time ever.
Incredible.
I think he ran it at like 6.4.
Well, did you see what the Patriots fans were putting out? They put up a picture of Mac Jones. I think he was in high school. His body type looked just like Tom Brady coming out of college. It's so funny. But yeah, they love those type of QBs out there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I found it very interesting that they took a quarterback with their pick, the Patriots. So,
yeah, man. Bill got desperate.
Oh, hey, to the Philadelphia Union following us on TikTok over here. I appreciate that.
What's going on?
Oh, look at that. It just popped back up again. How about that? Very funny, my computer's being. But let me take all this stuff off so that I don't have to watch it anymore. Bam, maybe that'll make things better. Are we there? Can you hear me still?
We're good.
All right, perfect. Just so that we can let everybody know, because we're about to go to break here, I want to tell a couple of scores here because we do have a few teams playing tonight.
Right.
Right now, the Phillies are up against the Brewers 4-1. Oh, and I love seeing this score right now. The Flyers 3, the Penguins goose egg.
We still hate Pittsburgh.
That makes me feel so nice. By goals by Hayes, Gostisbehere, and Giroux.
Came to play.
There we go. So listen, we'll be back in 90 seconds here, so stay tuned. There's definitely a lot more. We're going to go a little bit more on the draft and then go the rest of our sports because we got tons of sports to talk about still. Like I said, how about them Union? How about them Union? Now that I see that the Union's here, man, that was – I didn't even get to see the game, but it was awesome to hear about that. So, listen, we'll be back in 90 seconds, so stay tuned.
You're listening to Northeast Streaming Sports. A group of independent podcasts came together under one umbrella to give you a network that streams from Northeast, New York, down the East Coast to Louisiana, and across the Atlantic Ocean to the United Kingdom. Northeast Streaming Sports streams live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Can be seen on Twitter and Instagram. Audio carried on Spotify with our own website for the best sports information, updates, commentary, and entertainment. Sportscope, TGI Sports Talk, The Safety and the Sports Writer, the Philly Sports Guy, the Mac and Jack Sports Show, Stu's Wrestling Podcast, Four Stripes on Ice, Talking Baseball with Sal and Gioletti, Unscripted, The Big Shaw Sports Report, Frankie C Sports, Fantasy Football Face-Off, 12 shows and growing. There's one place to get your sports on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Hey, we're back. That was. See, it's a quick 90 seconds, so we get right back in the swing of things very quickly.
Let's go.
So, just to finish up the draft talk, I gave the total draft by the Eagles a B in total because I thought that's really where they fell. I wish that. We're close. I mean, that they could have done a little bit better with a couple of the picks, but for the most part, that they filled some holes. I didn't think they needed much on offense, and I like the fact that they were able to step up and start to get some people in there that'll start solving some of the problems in the future.
Yeah.
I believe that we have our left tackle and our right tackle for at least another 3 years. And I think Jordan Mailata beats out
Dillard. Yeah.
Andre Dillard.
I agree. And
I like the fact that we may not have to hear the name Sayamalu.
Yeah, same here. I gave this Eagles a B-. Here's the thing. As much as I do like them beefing up the line as we're going into the next era of Eagles football, I do think that they did draft by the big board. I do think they followed the big board. I just don't trust Howie's big board. That's the only issue. But I still think that, look, you got some good players in this draft. I told you I like the Devontae Smith pick. So I gave him a B- in this draft. Not terrible. But we'll see. Judgment. We'll see. By the end of this season, we'll have a little bit of a glimpse what this draft class is going to look like. So I'm going to go with a B- for our birds.
Well, I gave, just to give a little bit more of a heads up for the rest of our division, I gave Washington a D.
Okay.
Now they may not
get the QB.
They may not think that, but I don't think that they did very well at all. I gave Dallas a D.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think that they did very well.
What didn't you like about that one?
Well, I understand why they took Micah Parsons, but I don't think that he is the end-all, be-all like they think he's going to be. I think that they're going to suffer without Lee. And Van Der Esch is not going to be able to make it through another season. So Micah Parsons has got to be that guy. And I just don't know. Like, I don't talk about people's lifestyles. I could care less. You know what I mean? It's not important to me. But it is sometimes important in a locker room. And it's going to be interesting. The problems that this kid has is not necessarily attitude. It's lifestyle. And that's going to be challenging.
It's interesting because, man, one thing we do know about Jera, he really doesn't care about character whatsoever. 3 picks here. Obviously, Michael Parsons. Their second-round pick was Kelvin Jenkins, I think his name is. And then they get Jabril Cox later on in the draft. Just don't care about – if you could play, you could play for the Cowboys. That's it.
Right.
Remember
which is fine. I can get that. I mean, the Raiders made a living off of that in the 70s.
That's true.
But that was the 70s.
But even before this draft, I mean, they went with Lyle Collins, which actually did pan out for them. Remember, they gave Greg Hardy another opportunity. They gave Alvin Smith another opportunity. It's just interesting. Like, Jerry doesn't even care about arrest. He doesn't care if he hit a woman, a guy. Like, You could play football. You could wear that star on your helmet. It just, hey, the thing is, it hasn't really resulted in a lot of wins. So we'll see.
At least not important wins.
Not important wins. That is correct. That is correct. It's funny because I thought I like the Giants trade. I don't like the Giants drafting. I thought the Dallas Cowboys went in. They knew this defense needed a little bit of a revamp, and they spent a lot of those picks on defense. And that offense is pretty solid. I mean, I think a lot of that offense can be predicated on if Dak Prescott can come back and be that guy they need him to be. But yeah, I just like that they addressed that defense. So to me, I like what the Cowboys did the most out of this draft. Then I like our draft, and then the Giants, and obviously the football team still don't have a quarterback. They're gonna ride with the Fitz magic. We'll see how long that lasts.
I think Heineke starts the season, actually.
Even worse. Listen, Heineke was fun. That was fun, but I don't think you win a division with Taylor Heineke as your starting quarterback. That should be. But we'll see. Defense is also really talented.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I get at. Like, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, he would be okay. And I think that's really what we're talking about there.
Yes, sir.
So, moving forward, let's go to other sports. There's other sports happening in Philadelphia, not just the
Always.
Philadelphia Eagles. Well, of course, we'll be back again, all excited about this in another 9 days when they announce where everybody's going to be playing. We're going to announce that on my other show. It's going to be happening right on our other show.
Hey.
The NFC East show. So it's going to be almost broken live right there on that show. But let's go with the team that's really ahead right now, but is out of the playoffs. My Philadelphia Flyers.
We don't get to wake up today?
No. There's no more waking up. Because we're
now.
sleeping. We're sleeping. At least we're going to be sleeping on the golf course because they just aren't. I understand. You kind of, when you know that you're in that spot, you just kind of stop playing, and then we're gonna sit Carter Hart because he was hurt, and stuff like that. I got that too. You know what I mean? That's why don't we sit like Nolan Patrick, because I think that we should just make sure that his head is right from a couple years ago, and bring up the whole Phantoms team. That's what I would like to do. I'd like to see what these kids got against teams that we're going to be going into the playoffs. That's what I want to see.
I think what the Flyers are doing is they're just trying to see what it is they have next season. I think there are guys, veteran players on this team that are actually fighting for a job for next season with this team. I mean, how many times have we criticized Voracek? I think he's one of those guys. All of them, except for maybe Giroux because of the trade clause. But everyone on this team is not safe. Maybe I'll keep Provorov safe. Carter Hart is definitely safe. Obviously Wade Allison safe. I think Travis Konechny safe as well. But everyone else, you got to come play. You got to come. You want to be here next year? You got to come play in these last couple games. And last I checked, the problem is we can't even tank the rest of these games, which obviously we're beating the Penguins right now, so that's like kind of out of the question. But if you were to tank the rest of these games, you're lucky if you get a top 10 pick. Now, if you know a thing or two about NHL drafts, if you are a top 5 pick, there's a chance you play in day one. But other than that, you're more than likely going right to the minors and finishing your development. So there's really no need to tank. So what I want to see in these last couple games, who wants to be a Flyer next season? Who wants to be a Flyer next season? And we're going to find out a lot. Obviously, losing 3 straight to the Devils, that's really gut-wrenching. But last week, we obviously got mathematically eliminated. So, yeah, right now, we're just trying to see what actually we have next year, who wants to be here, and a lot of question marks around Chuck Fletcher. What is he going to do with this team, man?
Well, I am not going to spend any time talking about that right
That's
now
fine.
because truth of the matter is that I'm not a big fan of Chuck Fletcher. I kind of feel that this team right now, I mean, I love the Flyers, and I think that if Ed Snyder was alive, he would be doing things a lot differently than how they're doing it. And I think that they are blind to what's going on. And the truth of the matter is that they're not going to be blind next year if they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time selling. This is a very dedicated fan base. I say out of all the fan bases, the Flyers have the most loyal fan base. And they're having a very difficult time selling out 3,000 tickets. It's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It is.
And I think that's going to carry over.
I think so, because I feel like one way to get the Flyers going is the fan base make a stand. I'm not going to sit here and say Flyers fans are not dedicated, because Flyers fans are 100% dedicated. But one thing I do notice just from my interactions with Flyer fans is a little bit of being naive. Like when I talk to Flyers fans, they're like, even like last month, there was still optimism of making the playoffs. And I'm like, well, I'm watching the Flyers here night in and night out, and I'm thinking to myself, how do we make the playoffs? We struggle against the Devils, and how do we make the playoffs? When I talk about the Flyers, I hold them accountable because I cursed. We freaking love the Flyers. And that's why I'm critical of the Flyers. It's not about hating them. It's about holding my team accountable. When I interact with some Flyers fans, it's like, we're gonna be okay. We'll get back next year. How are we gonna get back next year? Don't tell me we are gonna get back. Tell me how we're gonna get back.
I am more interested to see who Seattle takes from our team.
Same. Very intrigued.
I am hoping it's Voracek, and I'm hoping it's Gostisbehere. I'm hoping that they disappear. I'm hoping that they poof.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see Voracek here anymore. I've been a Voracek supporter for a long time. But I'm over him. I'm over him.
Can I ask you something? To me personally, other than Claude Giroux, I feel like the player with the most value in a trade would be Sean Couturier. Would you be cool with trading him if you can get some good value out of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I feel like that he's the captain of the team.
You think he's after post Giroux captain? Okay.
Yeah, so I feel that Drew's got one season left on his contract. I think that he will re-sign for 2 more years at a much lower rate, and it's going to be okay for him to do that. Like, he'll be a third and fourth, line guy, and probably will still keep the C because Couturier will be the captain in for real rather than Giroux. I think that Giroux does well. I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player, but he's not elite. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. I think that we all expected him to be elite, and we thought that he was elite. And that started back when it was the coach of the Capitals right now, Laviolette. When Lavi said that this is what happens when the best player, when he scored that goal in the first against the Penguins, when he bowled over Crosby on the faceoff and then scored the goal at the end of that shift in the first minute of the game, that's when, and Laviolette said, that's what happens when the best player in the world. He called Giroux the best player in the world. And that was like the Madden curse. He called him the best player in the world, and God said, nope, no, he's not. And that's how it was. You know what I mean? So I think he's a really good player. I think that he'll retire a Flyer. He's not gonna go anywhere.
Does he get his number retired? Honestly.
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay.
One, because who else is going to wear that number? I mean, it's not a really cool number to wear. You know what I mean? It's
28.
Yeah, it's like, who cares?
Claude Giroux.
Yeah, when I think of hockey players, I mean, obviously 88, 66, 77, even 55. You know what I mean? Like you go 99. You know, like they like double numbers
Yeah.
or double
But I
numbers.
will say, if you are going to wear one of those numbers, you better place. You better be a good hockey player. Okay,
Better.
that's just me. If you're going to wear those numbers, you better be damn well good at hockey, man.
Right. Or something. Or something.
A little
You know what I
something.
mean? Yeah, because I like the number 87, you know, as a hockey player, because I think of Brashear. You know, I think of guys that wear sevens should be fighters.
Hey,
You know what I mean?
what
Any
happened with
number.
Crosby?
So he's just he's a crybaby. He's a crybaby. Um, but that's just my thought. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you should, if you're going to wear number 7, number 19 is my number. Like that's the one I would, and that's why I'm, and I feel like that I've been unhappy with with that jersey's play since before Hartnell, because I wasn't a Hartnell fan either.
Damn.
Yeah, and like he was an okay player, but he just wasn't great. You know what I mean? It just he took nights off, is what I thought. I felt like he took nights off. He took a lot of nights off.
What
Was the
about
problem?
Hartnell as a broadcaster? How you feel about that?
Not bad. Yeah,
I've
like
heard
I don't.
mixed reactions, honestly.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the fact that he cursed in the first broadcast was awesome. I'm like, I guess he's going to get reprimanded for that one.
That was funny.
But but that kind of brought a little, hey, we are talking to a real guy. That's what I liked about that. That's the one thing that I could say about him cursing in that first broadcast was like, hey, we're talking to a hockey player and they curse. And you didn't even notice it if you didn't think about it. You're like, what did he just say? What did he just say? He did just curse. He did just curse. How about that? So, I mean, like I said, the Flyers season has been over for about a month and a half, 2 months. It's a
Yeah,
shame.
man.
It's a
That March
shame.
killed us.
Yeah, well, you can't let up 150 goals in 20 games. Just can't do it. You're going to lose a lot.
That was crazy.
So I'm getting questions. What do I think about Taryn Hatcher? So here's what I think about Taryn Hatcher. She is great to look at. That's that. I think that the more she talks, I think that the more that she's just really good to look at. And I'm not trying to be like a douchebag about that. I think that there's better hockey analysis that comes from other people. But to each their own. You know what I mean? I can't. I mean, she's pretty, and that's what sells people on some of that. Beyond that, I can't really say much about it. I'd love to interview her though. I would love to have her come on this show because I would start asking her. I'd start asking her some real questions. I would really want to know her hockey acumen. Like I want to know what she really knows. She's been following this team for a long time. She grew up in Jersey. You know what I mean? So I have friends of mine that went to school with her. So
Shout to Jersey.
she's been around this team for a really long time. And I would love to know. I'd love to be able to pick her brain to see what she really knows about hockey because I feel like that she's fed a lot of the things that she talks about. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe they should shut up and let her do her own talking. Because I don't feel like she's real. I feel like that she's a little fake. I think that she talks well. I don't think that she's an idiot. She doesn't sound like an idiot up there. I just don't think that she is good to look at. That's how I look at that. That she's pretty, and that's what her biggest asset is. And I feel like that she may have a lot more to offer. We just don't see it. Was that politically correct enough?
I didn't see anything offensive.
There you go. And starting at 9 o'clock tonight, we have our 10-9-8-76ers showing up.
Hey.
And since the last time we were on, they've only done anything but win and win and win. I'm glad we didn't take them with the points last night, though. Since they went all the way to overtime.
Yeah, man. The crazy one. And obviously yesterday, everyone wanted to talk about it wasn't a strong performance by Ben Simmons overall. I mean, he finished with 5 points. But 2 of the points
A
was
really important too.
the freaking game winner in overtime. But look, I mean, it is frustrating. It is frustrating. We always talk about his offensive game every single game. But it was still evident yesterday, like his facilitating, his defense is still really important. If we're gonna start a conversation about beating Brooklyn, and now we got to put in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been playing really well as of late. Giannis has arisen, so you got to put them in the conversation. Well, if we're thinking about beating Milwaukee and Brooklyn, Ben Simmons has to do his thing. One thing I will criticize the Sixers, I want to see this team with the style of play they play with, this aggressive, physical brand of basketball. I want to see these guys drive more. I don't feel like they do that a lot, especially from Ben Simmons. Get to the line. Do it. Come on. Hey, let's go. Wade Allison. Yeah, he's exciting.
More goals by the Fly. Hey, listen, I'd love to see him crush them. Always crush them.
Yeah, I'll always take that.
So, but yeah, I'm not as concerned.
Right.
I'll start getting that feel once the playoffs actually start. I don't think anything up to this point is even important until they start to play. And where's WTF at when we need him? Like he's the Bulls guy.
He just called me, and I was like, we're in the middle of the show, and he just called me on IG.
Because it's because we're playing the Bulls tonight, and he's a Bulls fan.
He needs to be here. Where you at? If you guys are listening and you are a friend of WTF, send him a message. Let him know to come here.
There you go.
The Bulls insight there. It should be a good one because I think the Bulls are still fighting for a playoff spot. They got kicked out of the 10th spot by Washington. So it should still be a competitive game. Obviously, it's a much different team than what they once looked. I think when we last played them, actually, we played them before the trade deadline. They obviously traded away. What am I thinking of? Who did they trade away? Well, they got Nikola Vucevic. That was really the big move that they did get. Obviously, Zach LaVine, I believe he's done for the year, if I'm not mistaken, or they're just shutting him down. So it's this team is like old school style basketball. A lot of big men. Daniel Tice is there now, who's with the Celtics originally. They got Lauri Markkanen coming off the bench. So this should be a win for the Sixers, but no win comes easy in the NBA. And as we all saw last night, the Spurs gave us a game. So, and it's gonna be tough too. You're on the road, back-to-back games. You're on the road. So hopefully the Sixers get the job done here, man. But
so looking at the bottom of the division, or bottom of the conference, even for the playoffs,
right.
We have in 7 is the Celtics, 8 are the Hornets, 9 is Indiana. So, and they're at 12.5 back. I'm going to go by this way. So, they're half a game out of the 8th spot is the Pacers. The Hornets are a little bit above that, and Boston's got at least the number 7 spot. They could move up if they wanted to with the Heat and stuff like that. Maybe even the Hawks, since they're tied at 8.5. Then you have the Knicks at 7. That's where that kind of 4 stops, and then the Bucks are down by 3. And then Brooklyn's a half a game out, and the Sixers are in first place. The bottom half of this, where you have number 9, is obviously the Pacers. That 10 spot is the Wizards. And then you got the Raptors at 6, 2.5 games back from that, and then the Bulls 3 games back from them. Washington pulls that out, don't they?
I think so. Bradley Beal is one of those players in the NBA has my absolute respect. That dude has been balling all season long. Russell Westbrook's starting to kind of figure out his play. I do think that Washington's going to lock up that 10th spot. For us, the Sixers fans, we need to look at if we stay at first place, that 8 and 9 spot, right? Because that's probably who will be playing in the first game. So I think our first matchup might very well look like it'll be Charlotte.
I don't think so.
You got Indiana. It's gonna be a tough one.
No, so my thought is that they're going to reseed those. So
Oh, okay.
my expectation is that if the Wizards wind up playing Boston, Boston better be very nervous.
Oh yeah.
I think now I'm not sure if this is going to be a modified best of 3.
I hope it is, or best of 5, right? I hope it's best of 5.
No, I think it's a modified best of 3 that the Celtics. So the Celtics would have to win 1 game, and Washington would have to win 2.
Oh, that makes sense. That's fine.
So
yeah, I just don't want a 7-game series for these playing games.
No. That you have to win.
Yeah.
You have to win 2 games if you're the lower seed, or 1 game. And I think that Washington would beat Boston.
I like that. I like those odds.
It's Beal, right? Beal plays for Boston.
Bradley Beal and
plays for Washington. I mean,
and Russell Westbrook. That's their backcourt.
I think that they would have an amazing series. 2 games that just turned it out for. That would be the, and then we'd wind up playing them, and I think that would be a tough series. I think that would be a lot tougher. That would get them ready for the playoffs in a real way. Because after that, we'd be playing. We're going to be playing whoever is in that 4 spot, and I don't think it's going to be the Knicks. I think that to be honest, I think the Hawks beat the Knicks.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? Really? See, this is my thing.
Or the Heat beat the Knicks, one or the other.
Oh my God, the Knicks are in the 4th seed. Wow. So I like the way the Knicks are kind of built. In today's NBA, defense has kind of like been overlooked. But you look at obviously us. Milwaukee's a much better defensive team this year. You look at the West, the Lakers, the Nuggets. Those guys play solid defense. You want to go far in the playoffs, you better learn how to play some defense. I don't think the Knicks will go far. I like them against the Hawks, and whoever they play next, I think they can give them a solid series. But they don't have enough offense to make a serious run. So I like the way the Knicks are kind of built, and I hate, I hate New York sports. So it should be interesting. But you know what? I will say, as much as I hate New York sports, it is good to see the Knicks winning. I know what the Knicks mean to the city of New York, and it's good to see those guys enjoying their basketball out there.
It's always a little bit more fun when New York actually has a good team.
Right. Well, they're not an embarrassment.
Right. I'd rather beat a good New York team than a bad New York team.
Oh yeah.
Same
thing with the Mets.
The Mets I can't stand the Mets, but I'd rather beat them when they're good.
Exactly.
Like in 2007 when they had that epic drop off and we wound up winning it in the last game of the season.
Oh, good times. Can we get more of that? This season, please, Phillies?
Hey, you know what? Pitching's got to calm around. They got to calm around.
Yeah, man.
It's been a little rough around the edges with the pitching.
Yeah.
So and then so I know we're talking about those 3. Might as well talk about the Phillies here a little bit. Let's see. I expect that they'll win tonight because they lost last night. And even though they should have maybe at least tied, and went into extra innings, that ball coming back in.
What did you think?
You know what? I think that if you have to determine, it should never be a ground rule double when it's hitting the air. That's a statement that I feel like should be made proper. It's either in play or it's out of play. You don't call it a ground rule double because it hits the top of the fence.
Right. Yeah. I got you there, man.
So the fact that they called it a ground rule double, like ultimately, if it's back in play, he better be running. Like that's what it should be. Then he probably would have gotten a double out of it, maybe a triple. But at that point, like it's either in play or it's out of play. And if you're calling it a home run, you can't overturn it from being a home run. That's how that goes. You cannot say, okay, well, no, we're going to count it just like it bounced off the tarp or bounced off the grass and went over the fence. That doesn't count. That doesn't work that way. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, you got to score more runs, and obviously, listen. I felt like last night there was just errors everywhere. Like someone was just screwing up somewhere. It ends in the worst possible way. You got Bryce Harper on. Scott Kingery came in to pinch run, and Bryce strikes out against Juris Familia, and it was just kind of like the culmination of the night, and it's rough. For me, this series, it starts off with the bang. Like Jose Alvarado Friday night, he's going at it with Dom Smith. Like I'm excited. I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, Phillies and Mets feels like Phillies and Mets. Let's go. Jose's chomping the bit at Dom. Dom's telling Jose to meet him in the tunnel. Like it was great. You win that night. And like as a Phillies fan, that's what I wanted to see. Obviously, you lose the next two nights. Last night, all the mistakes that happened. Jose even had a bad inning himself. He allows 3 runs himself. And it's like, oh my God. If this team is going to go anywhere, the Philly sports guy, they need to gain the mantra of the underdog. I think that's how they're going to be a successful ball club this season. And I just don't see it. Like they talk too much. Stop talking, go play. Let your actions do the talking. I don't know. It's evident there's talent here, but the holes are just too big. The 4-5 starters, I'm not impressed at all. No, I haven't seen anything good from the 4-5 slots. The center field still, even though Roman Quinn had a good defensive play last night, I'll give him that. Odubel is not the answer. I think we saw that already. This team has big glaring holes as much talent as this team has.
It's funny because you started off that whole statement because I didn't get anywhere past it once you said it, that Harper struck out to end the game, right? That's what happened?
Yeah.
You know what I miss? And I was never a big Chase Utley fan. For some reason or another, I wasn't a fan of his. Like everybody kind of worshipped him. I wasn't that guy. I thought he was a little bit of a dirty player. I just was happy he played for us. You know what I mean? I think that he was a little standoffish, and that didn't rub me the right way. Like I thought that he could have been a little bit more Philly, and he wasn't. So he was a little too much, California for me. That being said, you never heard that Chase Utley ended the game, that he was the last batter of a game, ever. I'd be willing to bet that throughout his entire career, he was the last batter of a game less than 5 times. Now, I'm talking about through Philadelphia because I don't know what happened out in Los Angeles. And I'm sure that when he started to deteriorate, when his skills started to deteriorate, whatever. But while he was in his prime and when he was in Philly, he never ended the game. He'd work a walk. He'd make a hit. He was never the last batter of a game, ever. Doesn't matter if we were down 12-0. He didn't end the game. And he always had opportunities to end the game. He never ended the game. I wish that the Phillies had that. I wish that that's who was in the number 2 or 3 spot. Somebody who is always going to battle and battle and battle hard. I'm gonna foul these ball off. Like I'm gonna maybe choke up a hair on the bat just to make sure that I'm gonna connect. I'm gonna do everything that I can to make sure I don't make that last out. And ultimately, because of that, you think about that. Howard made the last out a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's part of what happened. You know what I mean? Because Utley wouldn't make that last out.
Mm.
Now I have no idea if that statistic is true or not. That I say he only had 5, throughout his career, but I believe that. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I
But
agree. So, I mean, listen, the good news is that this team is 13 and 15. I'm trying to pull up the standings right now as they are at top of fifth. They are winning 4-1 against Milwaukee in game 1 here. But yeah, so they are 13 and 15. The Mets are still 11 and 11 as this is just taking too long. See if we get those standings here. So in first place right now, actually the Nationals kind of came out of nowhere, took first place of NL East. The Mets are in second, we're in third, the Braves are in fourth, the Marlins are obviously in last. But you look at these standings of Philly Sports Guy, we have the most wins, and we're sitting in third place. Obviously, everyone's played a different amount of games. That's why the standings are what they are. But yeah, it's literally up for grabs this season. So for the Phillies, just keep plugging away. Keep plugging away. Keep figuring it out. Um, once those warmer days come, June, July, August, so you got to start turning it up. You have to start turning it up at that point. But I think right now they are in a solid spot. We'll see what Dombrowski does as well before the trade deadline. Because I think they need to make a move because this is a team that is in the running in the NL East. You make a move for a starting pitcher, a center fielder, and I like this team. I really do.
Marlins are in last place.
With 11 wins. I think they're 11-16.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's literally the division is literally up for grabs right now.
Because we ain't played the Marlins yet, and I expect them to be
Oh,
mostly losses.
Oh man, don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
So,
Oh man.
I'm interested to see if because that's going to be the biggest difference, if they can win any games against them.
Yeah, they always give us issues, man. They do. Not looking forward to seeing Sixto. Jorge Alfaro, I think he's like a 400 average batter when he plays the Phils. Like, yeah, man, not looking forward to that series.
But all right, I'm done talking about the Phillies too, because it's still, like I said, we haven't even started that yet, really. I mean, opening day came and went, and
Played 32 games.
Baseball starts in June and July, as far as I'm concerned.
Sir?
So we have. Actually, you know what? I want to mention this first before we get into talking the Union, because I feel like that we'll close out the show with the Union, because even though that their last game was a loss, it didn't really matter because we got something much more important happening. But the Philadelphia Phantoms,
Hey,
our female professional football team, smoked.
hey.
Like literally, I want to make sure that I get the score right, because
Was it against Dallas?
it wasn't Dallas, but it was.
It's all good.
They crushed them. It was, here it is. Let's see what it was. As I want to say, it was 42-0.
Wow.
The Carolina Queens.
Hey. Okay.
42-0.
Round of applause for our fandoms. Let's go.
And just so that you could get an idea, like who are some of the best teams in the league. They're not called Dallas, but they're the Texas Elite Spartans.
We still
they
don't like
won
them.
41-0. We had the Utah Falcons
Cool.
win 60-13. The Kansas City Glory won 34-0.
Of course, Kansas City has to have a team.
And there were a couple of games that didn't play. Washington beat Atlanta 12-0. What would be another team that would be in the Alabama Fire?
Alabama's a team.
Beat the Mississippi Lady Panthers 38-6.
Okay.
So this is actually a real league. There are 20 teams in this league, and like I said, they started playing. This was a home game, and Philly spanked them.
Let's
Spanked them,
go. I like
42
it.
to nothing. So,
We're
just
here
in
for it.
case anybody knows, if you want to find any of this stuff out, that league is called the WNFC, and it's the Women's National Football Conference. They play, like I said, they play every Saturday, and they're like real players. They're doing their thing. These girls don't get paid anywhere near, anything. You know what I mean? But if you want to go watch some professional football happen and support Philadelphia, definitely check them out on the WNFC. Like I said, 42 to nothing. They are going to be competing against for the championship this
I
year.
like it. I'm here for it.
So, and I'm gonna once I get to a game, because obviously I was a little busy this weekend. Once I get to a game, you'll see me doing my thing. And I'm gonna work out trying to get a jersey and show up there as I'm supposed to show up there, not just as me right now. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to work it out. I'm gonna try to work it out.
I'm here for it. I like it.
But the other Philadelphia franchise that had a very interesting week since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, man.
Was that final score 3 to nothing?
3 to nothing down in the almighty Benz, the Mercedes-Benz stadium, home of Atlanta United. No, not the Falcons. Atlanta United. Philly sports guy, we went down there. It wasn't a match that started in our favor. Atlanta was evident as the better team in the first half. They had, I want to think on the top of my head, 3 clear opportunities that they should have put in the back of the net. But number one, Andre Blake came with the brick wall. He brought it down Atlanta. He was one of the big reasons why we won that game. 7 key saves in this game, especially in that first half. Second half, I don't really think the tactics changed too much. Some people said that the Jim did a good job of adjusting. I think the Union just woke up flat out. The counterattack that the Union loved to use, that was working. They got behind the Atlanta defensive line, and that's how they killed them. They made Atlanta create turnovers or commit turnovers, and the Union just turned it around and went the other way, and they scored 3 goals. I want to say they scored 2 goals off of that. The first goal, Kasper Shabilko, your boy, right place, the right time. That, man. Just taps it in. He just had to tap it in, and he got it in there. Second goal, that was a counterattack. Kasper, that was a really nice goal. So he was near the beginning of the box, the 18, and he fakes Brad Guzan. He was making it seem like he was going right side of the net, but he went left side. He curled a little bit, and he made Brad Guzan look like a rookie. It was great. The third goal, Shabilko, again, fantastic match by him, but he just demonstrated some serious unselfishness. He saw Anthony Fontana trailing back wide open. He hands it off, and Fontana just dumps it into the net. And the Union walk out with a huge 3-0 win. Remember what I told you. Away goals are everything in this tournament. You get those away goals, even if you lose, that could be big going into the next game. The Union walk away with a 3-0 win going into tomorrow. Obviously, Saturday, it was a different story. The Union fall 2-0 to a rival, NYCFC. The match just right off the bat started it wrong. NYCFC had an opportunity right in the first minute. Not even a minute was played. They had an opportunity. Andre Blake had to make a big save. Then 4 minutes later, they on the counterattack at NYCFC, Jesus Medina finds the back of the net, and it's just like, oh my God, we literally this was not going our way. The match really changed in the 13th minute. Jose Brujo Martinez, who won't be playing tomorrow, I remind you, because he's had too many yellow cards in CONCACAF. Now he's suspended the next MLS match for the Union because he had a red card on Saturday. Listen, for a lot of Union fans, Valentin Castellanos for NYCFC, we hate him. He's a crybaby. There's just the thought of him makes me cringe inside. But Castellanos, he dove a little bit. But as he was coming up, El Brujo decided to karate chop his head. I'm not kidding. He straight up karate chopped Valentin Castellanos' head. And the ref had to take another look at it. and he wound up getting the red card. So for essentially 70 minutes in this game, the Union had to play with 10 guys because El Brujo got kicked out. So it was 10 men for the Union, 11 men for NYCFC. The tactics changed. NYCFC had the ball for most of it. They had 66% of possession, while the Union had around like 32, 33. So it's hard to score goals when you don't have the ball at your feet. The NYCFC, give them credit, they finished it out. Jakob Glesnes, who I felt like had a good game, had one bad mistake that led to the second goal. He passes the ball to Valentin Castellanos, the player I just mentioned, and he puts the second goal away. It sucks. But like you said before we got into this, we're on to Atlanta. We're just worried about moving on tomorrow night against Atlanta. I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie. To me, Atlanta is still Atlanta. We're going to be without Jose Martinez. He's really big for what we do. He literally dictates the pace of the game, especially when you're talking about defending tomorrow, because we have to keep that 3-0 lead. You want someone like that. Personally, I think what's going to happen, the Texas kid, Leon Flack, he's going to move over to El Brujo's position. The question is, who plays at the left shuttle midfielder? Does Jamiro Monteiro, who's played fantastic this season at that 10, move to the left? Or do you put Matt Rial, who's played at that left shuttle midfielder, you play him there, you leave Jamiro at the 10? These are some options. These are some things that you have to think about tomorrow. But expect the Union to still be aggressive. Jim Kirchin doesn't believe in the soccer term parking the bus, where you just sit back and defend, just hoping for the tie or just like the 1-0 win. He's gonna put the foot on the gas, man. The Union are gonna be looking to score a lot of goals. So kind of what we saw at the Saprissa when we were there together, the Saprissa game. You're gonna see a lot of that same too. The aggressive style play that Jim likes his boys to play with. I could see a 2-2 draw tomorrow. I could see Atlanta coming in here motivated. They're going to try to find a way to exploit the potential weakness that is in the middle of the midfield for the Union. So, if you're a Union fan tomorrow, it should be fun. But, I mean, my nerves are high because, this is Philly sports. But, it should just enjoy the ride, like I constantly keep saying. And we have a good opportunity tomorrow to move on.
Yeah, my expectation is that there's no way that Atlanta comes in here and scores 4 goals, without us scoring 2. You know what I mean? That's what would need to have happen. You know what I mean? So it literally they would have to win 4-1 or 4-0 to overtake us, and I just don't see that happening. So I think that this was even a 1-0 or 2-0 loss isn't the worst thing in the world here. Who is in the other side
for Atlanta?
No, not for Atlanta. Who would be? No, I'm not trying to look forward, look ahead, but who would be?
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so the potential matchup for the Union right now is Portland and Club America. Club America, Philly Sports Guy, is the biggest club in North America. They are the Yankees in Mexico. They have won everything in Mexico. They have won everything in this continent. So they're the big boys. So right now that series is tied 1-1. However, Club America got a away goal in Portland. So if Club America just takes care of business in Mexico, they will be playing us if we take care of business as well. So listen, for me, someone who has a lot of Mexican soccer fans in this area, I always hear it. You guys, Philly will never be up to the level of a Club America, this and that. My club is going to go up against the Mexican Giants. I'm focused on tomorrow, but the soccer boy in me, I'm getting a little giddy, honestly. Oh my God, just the potential playing Club America, it should be awesome, man.
And then I'm sure there's another couple of teams that are playing, right? Because this is the semifinals that they would be going to.
Right. So I believe that Toronto FC, who actually made a big signing today, they brought back Kamar Lawrence. Now, he is a fullback. He played for the Red Bulls. He gave Union fits for years. He went to go try out Belgium. It didn't work out. So he came back to the MLS, and he's back with the former coach in Toronto. They're going to be playing against Sul. You have Columbus going up against Monterrey, and then obviously Portland and Club America. Right now, the Union seem to be the only team that might advance as the MLS side into the next round, which would obviously be tremendous. If you were to tell me that the Union would be the last MLS team alive in this tournament, I would tell you to get out of my face. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Union are representing for America. Your Philadelphia Union are representing for this country in a North American competition. Like I don't know how you're a Philly sports fan and don't say like, "Wow, that is crazy."
Right.
That's the reality of it. It's crazy.
And I want to go to that game.
Yes.
I want to go to the game. I want to be at that game.
You know where I want to go though? If we move on. Now, Club America play in a historical stadium called the Azteca. The Azteca is actually where they play the NFL games. You know,
Okay.
like we have that's
Yep.
that's that stadium.
In Mexico City.
The Uni would be playing in there, Philly sports guy. Dude, just like the soccer fan in me, the thought of it, I can't fathom it. Like that's crazy to think about.
I have my passport. I'm vaccinated.
We're going to Mexico, dude. All the tacos you can eat, man. Get
I
some
tell you what,
margaritas.
it might be something that we could talk. Hey Vince, if you're watching this show,
Yes.
you know that we could go down there. I know that the Sons of Ben will be working that out. We should go down there, Vince. You know, the Philly sports guy can represent America. That would be the way to do that. Getting me all pumped up to go down there. That would be
Yeah, you're getting me pumped up right now. I still have to worry about Atlanta, and I'm like getting ready for Mexico. Hey, pack the bags.
Exactly. We're going. Let's go. I think it would be. I think that would be amazing. I think it would be absolutely amazing. And Philly to have it like Philly. Yeah, we already beat Costa Rica.
You beat the Mexican Giants? Oh my God. Yeah. I'll be down there, guys. So make sure to stay tuned. I'll have another vlog out as well. But I'll be down there in the Subaru Park tomorrow. Hopefully the vibes are good. The other concern, the Philly sports guy, I don't want to get too much into the politics of the stadium, but we've had issues with the away supporters, last two MLS matches. The issue is, listen, I mean, we saw the NFL draft. If you're vaccinated, I'm cool with, people being up close with one another as long as they wear their masks. The problem is NYCFC and Inter Miami have been coming in here and they've been buying in you know about the family sections, right?
Right.
So they've been buying tickets in family sections. We're talking 40, 60 fans of the opposing team just clumped up in family sections. Some of them are not even respecting the mask rule, while the rest of us in the stadium have to socially distance, wear, you know how strict they are with the mask. So that's been an issue with the Union right now, which hopefully we'll see how tomorrow works out. But yeah, that's a concern with the Union too.
Well, to be honest, I don't care about stuff like that. As long as they quarantine that section from everybody else, I'd be all right. Yeah.
So it's been brought up. Why haven't the Union given back the away fans their away section? So you remember we sat at 134. That section next to us, 133, on the other side where like that railing is, that used to be the away section. The away fans used to have that whole section, and that works because if they want to go out and sing like they did against, like what we saw against Inter Miami, they can go out in that gate and they can sing. They have all the open space they want. Literally, I think that's the most logical thing that the Union could do. But these fans are just buying tickets on StubHub, going in the family sections. Those people who sit in family sections, they go with their kids. They just want to watch a soccer game. They don't want to worry about the hooliganism. Just put the away fans back in 133. That's all. That's all I ask.
And right next to me. Right where they should be. Right next to me. I'll let them know right where they should go.
Leave the families alone. Give them to the Philly sports guy.
That's right. I got this. It's all, I got it covered from there on out. I know that you guys are paying attention. I know you guys are watching. You guys were on a little bit earlier. Definitely, we should make that happen. I'm game for that.
I hope so.
If I gotta write something up, if you gotta make sure that I have the ticket so that I'm like right there, right in that one spot, I'm ready to go. Actually, you don't even have to give me a ticket. Just give me like a security guard. I don't need to sit down. I am not going to sit down anyways. I don't ever sit. You never see me sitting. Just have me just there, right there, and I'll make sure that they know right where they're supposed to be.
Oh man,
I'll be like
great.
the
Yeah.
host. The host. Like, hey, come on over here. You guys stand right there. Oh, you guys want to sing? Go sing out there. You can step out a little bit further. Oh, you can't come back in now.
One more point with the Union here. So the Philly sports guy, I'm sure we've talked about Jim Kirchin, our coach, right? I've told you how much I appreciate that man to the fullest. His name has been brought up in some really interesting rumors. So over in Europe, there's a surge of American coaches going over there. The Red Bull system, which I've explained before, it's kind of like a minor league system. They have a club in Germany in the Bundesliga with Leipzig. Their second team is in Austria with Salzburg. That's where Brandon Aronson is right now. And then their third team is here in the United States with the New York Red Bull. So they really treat it like a minor league system. Their second team coach, the Salzburg coach, Jesse Marsh, who coached here in America, is going to Germany. And it's raised a lot of questions whether Salzburg will be looking at Jim to be their next coach. He's got the ties there. Listen, as a Union fan, it would suck seeing him leave because what he's done, just seeing him grow from 2015 to now, my God, it's amazing. But to see Jim coach in a European stage, I would cry. I would flat out cry. That man deserves everything that is coming to him. He has literally stuck with this club through hell and back. He's had to change his whole philosophy. When Ernst Tanner got in here, he wanted a whole German style of soccer, and Jim implemented it, and he's done a fantastic job of implementing that. So we're getting to a level now. I mean, you remember like the Andy years when like Chile left and Ron Rivera left, John Harbaugh left, the coaching tree that was built. Now Jim is potentially being poached over in Europe and could be the next American coach to coach in Europe. And that, as a Union fan, as an American sports fan, that is so cool. So cool.
I don't want it to happen. We're putting Philadelphia on the map here on soccer.
He won't leave this year. I know him. He will not leave this year. If this were to happen, this would be like a winter it would be a winter type of thing. But just the fact that he's looked at by European clubs is an honor in its own. That's, to me, still where the best soccer is being played. And if a club is actually looking at Jim, that goes to show the work that Jim is doing, and he's being rewarded by some praise.
So, well, and that's I'm really happy for him. Obviously, he's taken. I mean, I've watched the Union kind of go from not really being relevant at all to being able to go and just grow, and now all of a sudden, I was starting to get excited when they were going after and they played Seattle for a cup. It wasn't the MLS Cup, but it was the
U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, and they almost they got beat by Seattle, but they made it there.
Yeah,
and I've been kind of I follow like when they were getting big signings and when they had Freddie Adu, like that was a big deal and such.
Yeah,
I mean, he never really lived up to the hype, but it was but there was hype. So
yeah.
and so just that I'm the Philly sports guy, so like I pay attention to this type of stuff. When I was talking to people from the Union, they would be like, I'm like, I'd say, well, you got this guy, this signing and stuff like that. And they're like, really? You know about that? I'm like, yeah, I follow it a little bit. I follow it enough to be able to have a conversation about it. But I mean, I want to win an MLS Cup. I want to win a championship. I want them to go from the casino down to the stadium and have that parade. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know because I can't imagine they'd go down Broad Street for that. But I want to see that type of parade. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, personally, me, if they were to happen, I would do everything in my power to get that parade to Broad Street. I understand the whole Chester thing, but to me, it is a Philadelphia sport, and I want to see my parade down. I'll be the only one in Broad Street. I don't have a problem with that either. But that's personally where I want to see a parade. And I think we're going to get there. I think the way this team is going, it's the new model of building in the MLS. And luckily, listen, Philly might not have a lot of soccer fans, but my God, we have a lot of good soccer players. And if Philly sports guys saw a taste of it, it's getting better. It is.
So that's why I don't want to see him go. I want to see him finish what he started here and get a cup here.
Let's get that cup, man. I feel you.
But listen, everybody, 2 hours went by fast today. It was really quick. So,
That's fun.
Again, thank you, everybody, for following us. And definitely make sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you sign on to all of those things. It only helps us all grow. Thanks again.
Amen.
And everybody, have a great week. Until next week, let's go, Philly. Yeah.
Let's go.
Have a good night.